Good morning. My name is Jason Allen. I'm a realtor based in Palm Springs, California. And weekly, I like to bring a report of a specific city in the Coachella Valley where I do business. It's June 3rd. Here's the hitch: it usually takes about a week for the prior month's numbers to be crunched and the report to come out. So I'm going to be using April's numbers and because I did a Desert Hot Springs report last month, which was a special request, I missed Palm Desert, excuse me. And so I'm going to do Palm Desert today. And if you give me just a moment, I'll bring the charts up and we'll dive into Palm Desert's numbers. So again, the Desert Housing Report for April 2024, we start with this beautiful picture across a golf course looking at the mountains. And for those that don't know where Palm Desert is, let's say you're outside the area, just getting familiar with us. Palm Springs, the big green area here, then to the east, Cathedral City, to the southeast, Rancho Mirage, then Palm Desert. We get down in Indian Wells, La Quinta, Indio, and Coachella. Coachella and Desert Hot Springs as outlying areas tend to be the most affordable in the valley. And for those getting their bearings, this is the Highway 10. The Highway 111 goes through here. Now, if we take a look at valley-wide median detached home price, and this is just trying to say over the long haul, if you purchased a home here and then took a great big dip, it took a long time for you to get to a higher price point. But on a median, that's the house in the middle, at this point, you're still doing better. That's the good news. If you bought after the Great Recession, and most people only keep their house for about 7 to 10 years, you're doing really well at this point. So selling may not get you the price that your neighbor got 2 doors down during COVID, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily taking a loss if you look at the overall picture, the overall long haul. And then if we say attached, now this is the detached. This is the attached, is a townhouse or a condo, patio home that's attached with 1 or 2 walls. And look, same thing. There are these ups and downs, but if you purchased anytime after January 2011, you have equity. And equity is what you want to take away from a home as opposed to having lost money. The Desert Housing Report focusing on Palm Desert. Now, for these two charts, this is the detached, that's your single family home, inside or outside of an HOA. They look at average home size in this chart, average home size, average home price. Average, a detached home in Palm Desert is about 2,200 square feet, selling at an average price of $758, we'll call it. In a 12-month change, you're still 1.5% over what it was last year. Now, is that great? No. Is that the 18, 20% in some of the other markets? No. But it's not a negative 1.5. If you look at Desert Hot Springs, it's Desert Hot Springs down almost a little over 4%. So you're still doing well if you're in Palm Desert. And then if we look at the attached version of that, attached homes, about 1,600 square feet, and they're selling for about $548. That's up 3.9, almost 4% over last year. And then circling back to this very quickly, going back to that low point in the market, if you bought at 302 as the average, you're up 150% in Palm Desert for the detached home. And then for an attached home, if you bought at about 200, that's 176% increase if you're selling today. And again, I emphasize this because as a seller, we don't know if the market is going to get better or worse for you as the seller. And if you're on the fence, it makes sense to sell when you know what the numbers are today. And if that means instead of getting the 550 that your neighbor got 2 doors down, you get 525 and bought 10 years ago, you're still in the black. You're still doing well. And then if we go down to home sales, they average this over 3 months to avoid focusing on one fluke month. But you can see that home sales in April for Palm Desert, not as strong as a year ago, but besting everywhere else in the valley. People are focused on Palm Desert for some reason. Good value. It's not that far from Palm Springs. Good restaurants, that sort of thing. And in whole numbers, what it's down maybe about 10% from last year. Not huge. And then if we look at sales price by bracket, again, averaging by 3 months, you can see where the sweet spots are. Over a million, between a million and 2 million, lots of homes being sold in that price range. And then roughly between 400 and 600, lots of homes being sold in that price range. And that makes sense. If and I would say if we were to look past 10 years, this would be, apart from the high end, that sort of sweet spot, that bulk in the entry level or downsizing market makes sense. If you have a house in Chicago, you don't necessarily, and you want to buy a second home, you don't necessarily want to buy an $800,000 or $900,000 home, which will be a larger home. You're going to want to focus on maybe a 2-bedroom condo in a nice neighborhood, that sort of thing. That's why whatever the sort of that entry level 1-2 bedroom condo price point is, that's where we're always going to see the most activity in our market. So what you can be prepared for as a buyer on on the flip side is there's going to be more competition for those units, less competition for whatever that traditional 3-bedroom 2-bath or 3-bedroom 3-bath houses in these price points currently. But on the flip side, when you go to sell it, that's where people are going to want to buy. So what you pay a premium for today, someone else will pay a premium for later, and that's true for a view, for example, or being really close to a restaurant, or shopping, that sort of thing. You'll pay a premium for that location, and someone else will pay for that sort of premium in the future. I always try and avoid getting distracted, and I never do. Palm Desert has seen increase in inventory. Great for buyers, can be good for sellers. Theoretically, if there's more inventory to choose from, it will bring more buyers to the marketplace. We can get to a point where we now have more than 6 months of inventory, then it's absolutely a buyer's market. But we're not quite there yet. So skipping down here, months of sales. So Palm Desert, 3.4 compared to a year ago, 2.4. So this is essentially saying the sales inventory ratio gives us an idea of what the supply demand equation looks like. And at this moment, we have about 3.5 months of supply. That's still a seller's market. A year ago, we only had 2.5 months supply. So inventory is increasing, demand is diminishing. And that's completely related to interest rates, or mostly related to interest rates. And I think, frankly, the attitudes towards the election. And if you think about it, whether you're on one side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle, you're nervous because you want your candidate to win. And what we know is that once the election occurs, at least half of the population is going to be happy. And once we have that happiness back in the market, people will start to buy again, or more people will start to buy. So if you're in the market to buy today, you're probably in a better position because there's softness. There's softness. That's how I'll frame it. Days on market has increased, although not terrible. I was just doing a market analysis for a home in Rancho Mirage. It's on the higher end, not in a development. It's an equestrian, it's a property in an equestrian area. So you can have livestock and horses primarily, but you could have some other sort of ranch animals. Beautiful house. That kind of house, beautiful house in that kind of area can take up to a year to sell. We're talking about the $1.5 million price point. So different from the condos in this price range here, or houses in this price range here. Just by comparison, it illustrates how every property is going to be a little bit different. So days on market has increased. I don't see us tripling that anytime soon, but it is more. And as a seller, you just need to be prepared for that. Can you afford to wait to make your next purchase and thereby have your house at a higher price point longer? Or do you need to take practical steps to price it to where the market is so you can sell and buy your next house or move to your next location? And sellers, always remember you have carrying costs on that property. So you might say, Jason, I want to price my house at $1 million. I'm not going to take less than 900,000, but I want to give some room to concede. Okay, and what's your mortgage? What's your insurance? What are your taxes? What are your HOA dues? And all of that adds up to, I'm going to make up a number because it's a nice neighborhood, $6,000 a month. Okay, so you want to be on the market for 6 months. That's a lot of money. Wouldn't it make more sense instead of being at a million to be at 950, giving you a little room to concede, or 930, giving you a little room to concede when the house really should be priced at 899? Those are the kinds of conversations we have, or I have with my clients. Hopefully they listen to me. If not, I don't always secure the listing because I list houses to sell them, not just to list them. All right, I get distracted. I apologize. Percent of homes selling over list price. So about 15% valley wide. That's an average. Um, it could be $1,000 over the asking price. It could be 10% over the asking price. It all depends on what the demand is for that particular property and was it, priced appropriately. Um, Skipping down here, and this just gives you an idea of at what price point things are taking any kind of a discount. Again, averages, but I just want to point out we go from at the low valley wide of 1.6, and this is April of this year, not looking at a year ago, but 1.6 to a high of 3.8. That's average, but the point is that a buyer coming in and thinking they can offer 30%, not 30,000, but 30% off the asking price, unless you as the buyer are offering something so valuable to the seller, it's going to go nowhere. And what would you be offering? Like, I don't know, a 7-day close, all cash, no contingencies, um, waiving inspections, so on and so forth. Um, be realistic. The seller may have to come down 5 or 10%, more time on the market, another 5 or 10%. And then if no one has made that offer, at that point, you might get in and offer another 2 or 3% off. But that's why these averages are out there. That wraps up the report. It's a little bit quicker today, only because I have jury duty and I have to leave in about 20 minutes. So if you have any questions, as always, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I respond to YouTube comments. Please subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. I don't know who's watching to the very end of this, but there you go. Have a fantastic week. I can't talk about my trial until it's all over. And maybe I'll slip in an update at the very end. Bye now.